Hi, and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show, Roll for Damage. I'm back this week, but with Serenity's me impression, I'm sure none of you even noticed. It was excellent. Uh, so the intrigue continued on Friday as the Shields of Twilight continued to try and unravel the complex web of mystery, politics, magic, and shifting alliances, which is Oriana's hometown. Oriana herself had an emotional reunion with her mother, who she had not seen since she ran away from home months and months ago, before the campaign even started. So it's been a while. But there wasn't much time to relax in Oriana's foyer as the party had a lead, and the people they were attempting to track down might be very close indeed, as in, like, right about on top of where the inn they were all staying was. So super close. But unfortunately, the party's surveillance, I can't talk today. The party surveillance didn't show up many results, sadly, but they all did manage to get drugged and kidnapped by unknown assailants, so they're probably on the right track. That's usually a sign that you're on the right track. And we will be talking about all of that starting in just a minute. As always, stick around after the stream for links, charities, and resources. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Welcome back. I've got three wonderful guests joining me today. We've got Jake, who plays Oriana, the wanted criminal. We've got we've got
Wanted war criminal.
Wanted war criminal to be clear.
You gotta put that red.
No, traitor, not war criminal, traitor.
I've heard both things bandied about this whole time.
Yeah. Slightly different.
Yeah, it is.
Still carries the death penalty. Then we got Laura, who plays Peregrine, a druid who is probably really confused by all this stuff. Yeah. And then we've got Chad, who plays Quinn, who is very eager to kill some people who may hurt some kids.
What? Smite.
Smite time.
Paladins have one gear. Smite. Okay? It's not my fault. It's in the book.
Hey, sometimes they smite, sometimes they heal.
It's true.
That way. Anyway, so guys, the intrigue continues. What is the damage?
I hate it.
Emotional damages for Chad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to decide what the actual damage is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Is it our relationships with our allies?
I mean, only if Campion has anything to say about it. He's like whittling away. Like every time someone's nice to us, he's like, "What the fuck do you want? Like, what is your deal? I must alienate you as quickly as possible."
Who did he alienate this episode?
He keeps trying to alienate most people we come in contact with. He tried to ransack Oriana's parents' house quietly. He tried to make Lex believe that he was willing to be bomber / mass murderer. So like there was a lot going on. Plus, he kind of pissed off most of the people in the room with him anyway. So, like, yeah, it was fun.
You pissed him off too. It's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Oriana had a big episode. Again.
She did.
Yeah. So something that I am curious about is we talked about this a little bit before, and I think you touched on this last week a little. But to what degree was Oriana aware that she was in trouble?
Not as bad. She didn't think it was as bad as it was, but she knew it was worse than she was leading on. She was a little afraid that her friends would try to stall out the plan in order to try and keep Oriana off the radar, when in reality, in her opinion, she felt like the best path forward was to just get it over with and try and convince the leaders of her country that she wasn't trying to do something that terrible. She was naive, a little bit stupid, and she is worthy of proving herself valuable enough to them that they shouldn't want to kill her, at least not right away.
At least not right away. So when Oriana left her home country, it was my impression that she had thought that like the government was super corrupt or something like that. So if she thought that, why was she so convinced that she could convince them not to kill her?
Yeah, when she first left, basically Damien had filled her head with lies and half-truths and things like that, and she had bought into it. So when she left, she thought she was leaving because she was going to be, forced into a loveless marriage to a leader of her country, and that's all that she would ever be. She heard about some of the horrors of war that her country had committed and thought that the current government was directly responsible to it. Turns out it was the people they actually overthrew that were responsible for it. So there was a lot of misconceptions that she had about it. And it wasn't until, I think it was when we met Liz and Charlie, and Charlie kind of talked a little bit about her home, that things just didn't really seem to be adding up anymore. And at that point, she kind of decided, okay, well, or no, I think it was right before that, actually, because she messaged her, she sending her mom, and then realized later that, wait a minute, she didn't even react to that magic. What? That's kind of weird. And then when Charlie talked about her a trill, that's when she kind of was like, am I missing something here? And that's when I decided to sending Cade. And he basically told Oriana some things that just weren't adding up for her. Eventually, she ended up messaging Damien, really saw things weren't adding up. So her journey to go home was really kind of like, I just want the damn truth. What's going on?
And yet, Party heard word none about any of these concerns or the fact that she was a treasonous criminal.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, so actually, why did Oriana choose not to brief her friends that?
Yeah, make it good, bitch.
Don't be rude on my show.
I know that's your job.
Yeah, it's my job. Only I call y'all bitches. Anyway, yeah, but why did Oriana choose to not tell her friends any of that? Especially since like she knew this is going to be like a super important like fact-finding mission for her, because she wanted to know the truth about her home and like uncover all the lies. And like she still doesn't know really what's true. You're still in the process of figuring that out.
Still trying to figure that out. Yeah. So when she left, she didn't know Damien escaped at all. She should have been able to put two and two together, but like I said, she was naive back then. She didn't understand. So when she found out Damien escaped, she thought, oh, I'm going to be in big trouble. I'm the reason he escaped. But she didn't know that he was a full-on war criminal. So that's where the kind of like cutoff came for Oriana of okay, well, I know it's going to be bad, but it's not going to be like that bad. So she thought, telling my friends is just going to cause them to want to be overly cautious. We're going to take it too slow. I'd rather just get it over with and try and figure out how I can fix this and, to learn the truth. Then when she gets there and realizes just how bad the crime was, that's when she's thinking, oh, maybe I should have told my friends what we're getting into.
Yeah, maybe a little. I mean,
tiny bit of information.
Yeah.
Maybe just a sprinkle, but hindsight is 2020. Observation, though, not the first time Oriana's done something similar. I remember it was a big hullabaloo a while back. Like, this is when you were hanging out in those caves and getting ore and stuff. When Oriana kept information from the group in order to steer them in a certain direction.
It's a very common trick of hers, yes.
It's slowly becoming a personality trait of Oriana's. Whether that's for the good or the bad remains to be seen.
No, it doesn't. It's bad. It's very bad.
It's definitely interesting.
It's an interesting turn.
I'm not saying it isn't interesting. I am, however, saying bad.
Not going to increase her friendship level with Perry.
Unless she gets better at it.
So
that's gonna make it worse, Truth.
No, she got to get better at it so no one notices.
So when it came to the cave thing, this was, right after she had basically promised to try to give Asmodeus a chance to try and figure out if she was comfortable following him. And the one little crumpet of information that he had given her about what it takes to follow him is to be a leader, whether that's through, deceiving people, using your own knowledge to lead people in a direction that is safe or correct. And that was, in the caves, her first real attempt to try and follow Asmodeus, which was part of the reason why she got really hostile with Perry about it, because she's trying to follow this path. She doesn't quite understand it yet. And she was hoping that when we got to Zuma, we would be able to learn more about it and either finally decide, okay, this isn't for me, or okay, I see how I can do this my way. Right. And then other things got in the way. With this, it was a little bit of that again, of not Perry, Oriana trying to lead the group by selectively giving them information. But if she had known how bad it was, she would have been completely honest with the group and told everybody. She really thought, okay, I'll probably go to jail, but I'll have a chance to prove that I'm worth more to the country alive than I am in prison or dead, and it'll be fine. She did not think, oh, my face is going to be plastered on every tree in the city. And
every street corner.
Yeah, she did
not. At least you're famous. You can probably launch a career off of this. Get a little talk show.
You could.
Probably.
Use those wanted posters as your album cover.
People would come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fun times. I do want to move on, but something you said made me curious. So in what way is Oriana more valuable to the country alive?
Through her skills, mostly. That's what she's trying to sell herself as. She's kind of done that before. She actually does it quite a lot. When the Ifrit was trying to take us all prisoners, she basically tried to barter herself as a noble of a trill who might be worth a lot to, get the rest of the group's freedom. But that's kind of how she sees herself in a way, almost like in terms of a commodity of what I can do for you in a way. And that's a little bit based on how she was raised and a little bit based on how the culture works in a trail of you are worth what your worth is. So show us what you're worth.
She's also noble, so.
Yeah, well, that
awesome. So what's all this like for Perry and Quinn? Because you've both been friends with Oriana for quite a while, but this is the first time you're really seeing what her home is like, what her family is like, and what all the drama is like.
I mean, first of all, like Perry was given one perception, shall we say, of what Oriana's home life was. Like Oriana talked a lot about like she ran away because she didn't want to be forced to get married and everything sucks and nobody understands me and I'm poor pitiful damsel in distress and it's none of that.
No,
at
nothing.
all. And partially Perry is a little bit annoyed because like Perry comes from a very happy, very large family, and she values that and she appreciates that. And she felt bad for Oriana, like when they first met, like, oh, it sucks. My mom is great. My dad's awesome. I've got like these great brothers and shit. Your life sucked. I'm so sorry. And then she meets Helena and she's like, your mom is awesome. What the hell? And there's like this little bit of envy because Perry, especially now, is very worried about what she's coming home to. Like she doesn't know if she's going to even get to see her parents again. What if she takes too long and she gets back and they're sick or they're dead? So like there's this like
vision.
Yeah. So there's this like little bit of envy and like just trying to be the bigger person about it, but she kind of wants to kick Oriana's ass a little bit for A, not understanding what she had, and B, treating her family who loved her like shit.
That's interesting. It does give this a kind of another layer of personalness for Perry.
Yeah. I mean, as far as me, that's a lot of what would be going through Quinn's mind on all of this, because again, she did describe everything as being, terrible. Her parents always trying to force her into something or other, describe them as very, very domineering, fairly uncaring from the way that she was putting it a lot of times. Like, you're going to do this because this is what you need to do. You have to do this. We don't give a shit if you like it or not. That was the vibe she gave off of literally everything about her home life. And then we get there, and not only is her home big enough to fit like a good percentage of the village where Quinn is from, like inside of it, but everybody is nice. Everybody was nice to her. Her mother obviously cares very, very deeply and only wants the best for her and only wants her to be happy and only wants to be supportive. And then part of Quinn is just thinking, pitch. and like the thought of slapping her in the back of the head after mom left the room did go through his mind, but doing that in her home may have been a bit like that would have been the bridge too far, I think.
Got you kicked out. Yeah
exactly. Like just very briefly, like I want to slap her right behind the horns, but I'm not going to. We're going to save this for the next time. Just
to be fair, I would like to defend myself a little bit.
No.
Oriana did mention after she talked to her mom and Cade that she may have had a bad perception of it. And oh God, what if my mom doesn't forgive me for all the shitty things I've done to her? So Oriana was aware that what she had done was shitty before she came back. That's why she was worried about coming back.
Yeah, no, that's
which is fair. However, there was still a mountain of bullshit what was shoveled before we got to that point.
Oh yeah. And Oriana knew it was bullshit.
From the back room, I just want to give a little tidbit of information from Serenity here. Helena is based on my actual mother.
Aww.
So my mother is very much always trying to find me like companions, and like she's like, I just want you taken care of.
On little dates.
Yeah, like always wants to set me up to do stuff. And so from a child's perspective, like when I was younger, she was very overprotective. She was very like in my face all the time. I hated it as a kid. And as an adult, I've realized how much I appreciate that and how good that was for me. And how much she just loves me unconditionally. And so I wanted that twist with Helena. So just a little tidbit for everyone.
Cool, your mom's dope as fuck.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, what was I just going to ask? I got distracted. How old is Oriana? I forget.
22, I think, is what I have.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're really in your late 20s, you're just the stupidest person.
She's an adult, but she's still a kid. Like, I mean, it's
she's an adult in the purpose for like legal purposes, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, so she was still a rebellious teen quite recently.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the age when you start to realize that like your parents are wholly formed people who are different than perhaps your perceptions of them. Although I will point out that everybody's just assuming that Helen is completely telling the truth. She is not necessarily.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
But can I really insight check my?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the dice are there for, Jake. To insight check people you don't trust.
To be fair, Oriana would.
But no.
Yeah, we can't insult Serenity.
No, Oriana was too happy to see her mom to really think about stuff like that anyway, so she doesn't care. She just wanted to enjoy being back with her mom.
Yeah. So Oriana had a very emotional like scene with her mom when they got to like reconnect for the first time in a while. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It is everything I hoped for and more, honestly. Like that was probably my fate. That probably will be my favorite part of the campaign until the end of the campaign. Being able to sort of explore that connection with Oriana, because that is the person that she had the most interaction with growing up. I don't even want to call it a relationship, because for Oriana it was a little bit hostile, at least to her. But it is the person who cared about her the most, is the person who was watching out for her, and realizing that, and then eventually coming back and seeing this person again for Oriana is just it's I see all my mistakes. I see everything I've done wrong. I don't know if this person can forgive me. And the first thing Oriana's mom does is come and give her a hug. And that's the validation that Oriana needed.
Very cute. Awesome. So before we move on, what's Oriana's dad like?
I personally left it kind of vague in the backstory. The mom was the only one I really wrote about that much. For her dad, he is a high general in the military. So I imagine he's pretty sort of straightforward, to the point. I'm guessing, since he's not home right now, that he's probably off fighting somewhere, or leading troops somewhere. And I would imagine that's kind of been that would be indicative of much Oriana's entire youth. Dad's always away, mom's always around, kind of thing. And I think that kind of helped contribute to the sense that Oriana felt like her mother was just being mean to her and trying to do all these things to her, because her mom was always around, but dad wasn't.
That makes sense. Okay, one more thing. So what does Oriana, like, how does she feel about Cade now that she's actually met him and spoken to him?
Now that she's actually met him, spoken to him, and seen how nice he is, I was going to say kind, but she doesn't know if he's kind yet. He's definitely nice. He definitely seems like a decent person. And for Oriana, that's enough that she's willing to kind of sit down and actually get to know him. And especially after, he revealed so much about, him and her mother basically almost conspiring, in a sense, to try and get Oriana to finally meet him and get to know him. But the fact that they personally let Oriana do all of the things she did so that she would eventually just open up and give him a chance. She's wants to give him that chance now. So maybe after, the guillotine isn't an option anymore, and we're in the clear and not worried for our lives, maybe she'll sit down and have a nice long conversation with him and see where it goes.
I mean, with how fraught the political situation is, I think the guillotine might stick around. Speaking of that, so expanding a little bit onto like the overall exciting plot stuff that's happening. So I feel like your three characters are all kind of straightforward thinkers. Like Oriana is experimenting in manipulation, like Perry is sort of like adapting to how the outside world is increasingly. But I do feel like you're all pretty straightforward. So what's it like for these people to be like caught up in this twisty turny, complicated, like political shit?
A fucking nightmare.
I was gonna let Chad say that first, because he says that like after every session. Quinn hates.
Yeah, because I mean, look, as a player, I'm into this. As a player, I'm pretty into this. It's just like, this is really interesting. However, I am playing the wrong character for this kind of shit. I got a warlock who could turn this fucking town inside out and run it inside of a week. But this is not who I have. I have the dude from like some backwater island that only knows what people would bring into port about, like, you know, what else goes on elsewhere, had no care for politics and no need to care for politics. And now he's in this, you know, viper's nest.
He's in this shit. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, okay, someone's murdering children. I need to find the person that's murdering these children and either bring them to justice or send them to meet their maker. Either one is good for me. Which way do I go? And then it's like, okay, well, it's either, if you do find someone, it's probably like, you maybe find the person who did the person who decided to do the thing. The order came from like 7 people up a chain. So like, how far is this going to, like, God damn it.
Just please line them up. Just line them up for me.
Get them in a row and then just boom, just start like hitting heads like it's fucking t-ball practice, you know? Or whack-a-mole, yeah. But yeah, no. Quinn detests this place, especially after the end of the night, and would very much like to leave and never return whenever we are settled.
Oh, Perry is uncomfortable. Like, she's not naive enough to think that everybody sees the world the way she does. Like, if you just tell it like it is and you get the job done and you tell the truth where you need to, it's fine. Like, she knows that that's not how the real world works. And yeah, okay, back home, there were people who lied and stuff. So it's not like she's like, oh my God, people tell lies. Nobody tells the truth around here. But for her, it's the idea that you literally can only trust the people that you've been with this whole time. And that's kind of why, like, the whole relationship with Oriana, Perry's really glad that they're friends again, like really friends again. Because if she couldn't trust someone within their group right now, it would make it so much worse. Her anxiety levels are already through the roof because she's always afraid, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to tell the wrong person the truth because I don't have a filter. And it's sort of also why she's kind of butted heads with Campion a little bit and Cynric a little bit, because like part of it is Cynric said something about, well, here the laws work. And Perry took that very personally. Like, do you think I'm some sort of ignorant savage? Like, literally, Perry's like,
some law, just as some sort of lawless village. Everybody shits in the woods.
So, I mean, like, Perry's uncomfortable, but she's like, okay, I understand. Like, I can't trust the bartender. I'm not going to tell him I'm here looking for the strangled vine who I think are corrupt. And like, she was very careful, especially when they found out that Bardock might be a child murderer and everybody hated him. She was like, let's not say anything else to these people, like, at all. Let's walk away before we, stick our foot in our mouth. But for her, it's just awkward because she doesn't know who she can and cannot talk to or tell things to.
Meanwhile, Oriana loves this.
Of course she does.
In the sense of it's very stimulating for her. It keeps her on her feet. It keeps her thinking at all times. she's trying to put herself in her enemy's position of, if I were the Strangled Vine with unlimited resources, how would I go about this? Which was part of the reason why she didn't want to spend the night at the tavern and instead go back to her home. But the one thing she didn't account for, paralytics in the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm in this town.
None of us accounted for that, at all.
Yeah, I mean, going forward, purify food and drink is a spell that the paladin is going to keep prepared, permanently, or we're eating rations forever. And next person goes down from being roofied in a bar and just be like, well, you made your fucking choice, and then go back to eating my god awful jerky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like people were checking you out while you were attempting to check them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well. Yeah, and I think that this whole situation does suit Oriana's skill set, since she is a charisma-based character. So this is kind of an investigation, charisma, deception type of plot.
Yeah,
as our politics.
It's all intelligence and charisma, which are Oriana's bread and butter stats. It's the two stats she's really good in.
Lovely. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about Quinn, since he is very uncomfortable in this whole situation. Yes. He was very eager to bash heads over the alleged child murder. And it kind of made me wonder, do you think Quinn has become more comfortable using violence since he kind of embraced Bane as well as Melora as well as all the other gods? Because he's always been a decently violent character, but he used to feel conflicted about it, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be a lot more conflicted about having to use violence to do things, but at this point, because of everything that they have had to do, it's become more of, this is a means to an end. Violence for the sake of violence is still not something that needs to be done, except for that one time he really, really wanted to punch Campion, but that's the exception that he said that he has so far. But yeah, violence is a way to get things accomplished and to make sure that people can stay safe, and that anyone who is trying to do great evil does not get the chance to continue to do so. It's become more of an acceptable thing, just because, again, because of what they have encountered and how they have had to go about things so far. So he would like to resolve things more diplomatically more often, but usually the things, if given the chance, but usually the chance isn't there. It's more okay, I have to smash this thing. So I'm going to just, fuck it, I'm going to smash this thing. Just get on the smashy train and then let's go. Toot, toot.
Toot, toot, motherfucker.
Yeah. All aboard the fucking pain train.
Love it. Awesome. So you've all been drugged. Do you think it's a Strangled Vine?
I have no idea, but probably.
Maybe.
I mean, it's a 50-50 shot. Either that or there's a third party that's also been interested in us and we know nothing about, in which case I have even more questions and fuck.
Yeah.
That's about where I am.
My theory is, if it's not the Strangled Vine, then it's the cult using the Strangled Vine to get to us. That being said, I honestly don't know which one is more likely at this point. But I fully believe that we were poisoned by a member of the Strangled Vine, whether it was for them or for someone else. Not sure.
Party. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But I also learned early on that I'm never going to know what the DM is doing. And unlike certain people in this chat, I don't try to figure it out.
No, every time for the viewing audience, those of you who aren't part of the call where we're all playing, at the end of a session when the DM drops us in a cliffhanger, every single time, I am not being hyperbolic at all, Jake is I think I know what she's doing, and then he will say what it is, and usually DM keeps a really good poker face. Sometimes, though, she's like, no, fuck you, you're wrong. That is absolutely not what I'm doing. But either way, whether she says it right there on the day that he is completely wrong, or we wait until next week where he just finds out he's completely wrong, 100% of the time, completely wrong. Your theories are garbage. Sorry to tell you.
Oh my God.
But he is not, like, he's batting absolute zero.
We'll have to make we'll have to do a little celebration when you finally get one right.
Look,
we'll throw a mini party.
You get one right, I will mail you a fucking cake. I'm like,
I feel like I did get one right. Hold on.
No, not at all.
You've never been right.
Not at all.
I mean, that's part of the beauty of our little virtual table, though, is we all, in the back of our minds, may have theories. Jake's probably the only one willing to tell everybody what his theory is, because he doesn't care whether he's wrong or not. See, I keep it close to the chest because I don't want to know if I'm wrong or if I'm right.
Jay just finds out in game because he'll act on his theories immediately.
And then his reaction is always, oh, I knew it.
Oh no, it's a real dragon. Oh God. Good times. Awesome. Well, with that, we are going to move on for our topic today. And this is kind of a little nebulous topic. I don't have a single sentence explanation for it. So we've touched a little bit on this topic in the past. We talked about how to deal with difficult people at the table. But somebody suggested this topic in particular, which is selfishness in particular at the table, which is of course a complete anathema to D&D since it's such a collaborative and cooperative game by its very nature. So we usually start with definitions. What do we mean when we say selfishness in terms of D&D, and how does that manifest in players and even in the DM?
It is that person who's like, I'm going to go off and do this. Okay. GM goes to the other characters to talk about something, says something interesting. Oh, yes, I'm here now.
Yeah, I'm remembering very clearly someone we were playing with who would have their character get bored and take a nap. And then when something would get interesting, be like, oh, can I wake up now for this? Like, motherfucker, you said it's nap time. You are snoozing comfortably. Shut up.
Yeah. I would say the other thing is, someone who consistently, session after session, monopolizes the DM's time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in a it's sometimes it happens. Sometimes your character gets singled out for a cinematic scene, or they get off on their own, and it's going to take a while to get you back. But there's also, if it's, well, here we are for the 4th session in a row, and your character has had a scene for 2 hours, and I've definitely finished 6 chapters in this book while you're doing it. That to me is one of the I'm literally
reading War and Peace. Point, you're like, I'm almost done.
No,
got through the war.
That to me is one of the things that I think is one of the most selfish, and I think that that's the antithesis of D&D. This is our story. We all are supposed to be here rolling dice and doing some shit.
Yeah, I agree, because it's basically yes and with math. That's what D&D is, and you can't yes and yourself indefinitely. But the thing I would add on is the selfishness would come in with the person who is not only, just going off what you guys said, trying to always insert himself whenever they had moved on to something else potentially, or always trying to monopolize the DM's time. The person who is always trying to force their character into the forefront, but also the person who is always acting in ways that are completely counter to what everyone else is trying to do, and using the fantastic excuse of, well, it's what my character would do. I don't care if it's what your character would do. Your character is a piece of shit if they're going to be basically trying to force literally everything into a brick wall because that's what you want and not what everybody else is trying to do too.
Yeah, in the most broad terms, I would define selfishness when it comes to D&D as prioritizing your own fun to the detriment of other people's fun. Just
yes,
that is a perfect definition.
Mm-hmm.
So all these examples have kind of been stuff the players do. Can DMs be selfish to the detriment of their players?
Yes, definitely. If a DM really has something that they want the players to do, like they have only bothered to plan for this one contingency, they only have this one thing, and they don't want to see what else the players can make of it, then railroading, extreme railroading, is a fantastic example of selfishness in a DM. Not
Agreed.
like minor railroading. We all fucking do it. Like
a little bit.
Okay,
Sometimes
I really want you guys
have to get people back on track, and that's the only way to do it.
Like I really want you guys to go over here because I spent a lot of fucking time making this quest and making this loot, and you're gonna go collect it. God damn it! But that's like, go get the stuff I made for you. But then there's I don't really want to tell whatever story they're trying to tell. I want to tell this. If that's what you want to do, write a book.
Agreed.
But yeah, when it gets to be completely extreme with you're forcing the narrative to go in this direction because it's what you want and only what you want.
Yeah.
Then that's where the DM selfishism come in.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that can happen, I think, if DMs get too attached to their own stories because it has to be flexible. And kind of like you said, if you're trying to write a book using other people, it's not gonna go that great.
No.
Yeah,
they're not going to go in directions where you're like, that doesn't fit the plot. Of course not.
Yeah. They're not your writer's room. They're not going to give you the product you want.
They're not your writer's room. Lovely. So kind of, here's a question. To what degree do you think you are owed a good time at the table? And to what degree are you responsible for everybody at the table having a good time?
Equal parts.
Like 50-50. Like you are when you show up, it is a game. So game implies fun. Just, from basic terminology. So by showing up, you are in some way guaranteed to at least have some sort of enjoyment. But by participating in the social contract of tabletop games, you are also obligated to make sure that however it is you're having fun is able to help others and enable their fun.
Agreed.
Having fun to the exclusion of other people is not really what this is. If that's what you want, there are video games that don't involve multiplayer. Go get one.
Have fun there.
Yeah.
I hate multiplayer games, to be perfectly honest.
I hate playing with other people. I just hate it. In video game terms, I hate playing with other people.
It always sucks.
D&D is the one game I actually like playing with others, but other than that,
that's
forget it.
Like tabletop, wonderful. Video games, no.
I don't want to play with you over there across the country that I've never met.
Rando? Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up, you foul-mouthed teenage child. I do not wish to speak with you.
Some random 12-year-old. Yeah. Wonderful. So, I believe Chad gave an example of this, but have you ever had a game made not fun by a player who was just too self-absorbed?
Yes. 100%.
Examples, please.
Jake, you go first.
You had the immediate response.
Yeah, go for it.
I was running. I've used this example before, I think, actually. But I was running a custom homebrew 3.5 edition game. And this guy wanted to be some crazy, Sun Wukong type race. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, it's fine. And he wanted to play a monk. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. He then wanted to multi-class into barbarian. And I said, okay, I mean, sure, but you got to have a reason to do it. And he's like, oh, and then I'll get both unarmored movements. So I'm like, oh, that's not how that works. You only get one. Oh, well, then I don't want barbarian. All right, whatever. He then did the very classic, I'm going this way. Oh, wait, something interesting is happening with the other group. I'm here now.
I turn around, yeah.
I never left.
Yeah. He would literally try to hoard every magic item that he got access to. If he could use it, he tried to argue that he should have it. To the point where eventually a bunch of players approached me and were like, yeah, we're not comfortable playing the game anymore because of him. We're going to leave. And I'm like, okay, well, hold on. If literally every other person at the table is about to leave, you don't leave. Goodbye.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
A power gamer.
Yeah. Chad and I have discovered that we have friends that we can be friends with but cannot play D&D with.
Yes.
And it happens. Like, your play styles are vastly different. But we were playing with another couple, and they had a tendency to always create characters who were connected in some way. To the point that they would often like, oh no, we're going to take sides against your character no matter what. And it reached a point where at one point they like to play into stereotypes. So the decision was made that she would play a high elf, and she would dive deep into the high elves are very racist trope. And she was like, I think a mix of like a high elf and a sun elf or something like that, so that she could keep making this I'm a half breed too joke
to the other half elf in the party, which spoilers was not Laura's character.
Yeah, there was that, but like I was also playing an Aasimar, so I was half celestial. But the idea of, no, I don't ever want to do anything. Like, oh, here's the quest. No, I'm going to sit here and read my book. I don't care. And this was not, I'm going to sit here and read like the Tome of Wisdom. This was, I picked up a fictional book in the latest shop we went by, and I'm sitting here and I'm going to keep reading this book. I don't want to participate. And just in general, like mean things, like in-game mean. Like, I'm going to break into your cabin and I'm just going to sit here and shocking grass your door until it melts and steal all your shit for no reason, for petty bullshit. And we found that these two players are very selfish and they play their way. I don't play that way. I'm here to tell a story and to tell a story with people I like. So there was a tendency to just like drive the narrative their way no matter what and exclude everyone else to the point of making them uncomfortable. And that was a huge problem.
Yeah, the session in which the super racist elf character was introduced was also the last time we ever played together. So that was kind of like the straw what broke the game's spine.
Well, that was because it had initially been the hyper pacifist centaur.
Yeah,
I've heard about this one too.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do anything. She didn't want to participate in combat.
Yeah.
Or anything else. And then when her character died because she didn't do anything, I think that she got bitter. Like, she wouldn't even let us like help her escape the city being bombed. So that was the end of it.
How'd you waste a centaur character? That's such a cool race.
I know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was my little cleric. Her symbol was on her butt and everything. It was great.
The holy symbol was a cutie mark.
Yeah.
That's great. I would play the hell out of that character. Anyway, so like we were talking earlier about like that one character who like always inserts themselves straight into the action, but that I think that is kind of the opposite, the character who never wants to be part of what the party is doing, and that's kind of like the flip side, but it's a different kind of selfishness.
Yeah, because it's different extremes.
Yeah.
So kind of jumping off of the racist elf thing. So like selfishness can be a character trait for a PC, and like PCs are assholes sometimes. How do you play a selfish character without like having it make you a selfish player? Like, how do you keep that in character only while still being a fun person to play with and a fun character to interact with, despite the fact that your character is selfish?
I think you need to be really self-aware and know like where the lines are. Like there are times when, and I'm not saying you're meta, but you know, okay, well, there are times when her selfishness is going to be present and there are times when she's not going to be. And finding that balance where you say, okay, a person who is selfish is not selfish all the time. There are reasons that they will do and participate for their own self-interest. And like using that element to say, okay, yeah, no, I'll go with you because I want something over there. But only because I want something over there, not because I want to help you. This is for me. That sort of thing.
Jerk with the heart of gold.
sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it is a balancing act trying to figure out how you would play someone who is selfish, just has the desperate need to forward their own goals. And it's hard not to do it in a way that would be to the detriment of the rest of the party if you're pushing too hard on this is what my character wants. Because it's like I mentioned earlier, the excuse of, well, it's what my character would do. That's only going to carry you so far before it just turns into, I don't care if it's what your character would do. Your character is complete and utter shit. You know, like you have to figure out when to pump the brakes and when to go with what else is going on, even if it is not exactly and actually what your character would do if they got their way.
I mean, for me, if you're playing a truly selfish character, it's not necessarily difficult to avoid that in a way. You just have to really kind of imagine what it means to be selfish as a character. Because selfish doesn't mean like, give me all the stuff and everything. Selfish can just be that, you know, you're willing to not go back into that burning building to save the orphans because you might get hurt.
Really selfishness? That's just not being selfless. Like selfishness is not a self-preservation. It's an actual negative character trait.
Yeah.
It depends on like the reason. Like maybe you went into the burning building to get a rare artifact or something, and then you heard kids crying, and you're just like, "Well, I'm not going back in there."
Not the artifact.
But
yes.
In terms of it though, it's more of like selfish does not equal stupid. Which when I have seen selfish characters played, often that kind of comes up of the, oh no, I want that thing. Okay, but there's a trap. Yeah, but I want it. You can want something and know it's not a good idea to go for it. Like a selfish person does not, you know, a selfish person doesn't want to go steal the Declaration of Independence. You know, like you could if you wanted. If you had a good plan.
Some people are that selfish.
If you have a good plan.
If you're Nicolas Cage,
if you're Nick Cage.
Yeah, if you have a good plan, then you might be willing to do it. But you're not just gonna walk up and try and grab it because it's there. You know what I mean? Like it's, and that's kind of where it is for me. If you want to play a selfish character, make sure you're playing a smart character.
I guess. But like, if you're a smart character, what's stopping you from like swindling your fellow players?
Oh, that's how you do it, though. That is 100% how you do it. Like, use trickery and manipulation with the other players in the party to try and get their things. You know, don't like break rules or be overly aggressive about it or whatever when you're actually playing the character. But I mean, do it. If that's how selfish your character is. Try it, and if it doesn't work, just don't be a bad sport about it if it doesn't work. You know, if you try the sleight of hand to steal the letter out of, you know, the admissions letter to college out of your friend's backpack, don't be a sore loser when they catch you because they have high perception or something. You know what I mean?
Actually, why admissions letter? I don't think those are transferable.
They are not.
It's not like the golden ticket to the Wonka factory, man.
You cross out their name, right, in your own name. You're like,
just really get write it in Sharpie.
Oh, that'd be a fun plot, like having to pass as students at Magical University or something. That'd be fun.
Pass as students at Magic Stanford.
Yes.
Magic Stanford. Yeah, and it's even more fun if like none of your characters have magic powers.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're a bunch of like fighters and monks.
You're
just a thief rogue, and you want it just because it's there.
I want to steal a diploma from this magic university.
Or like you're a barbarian, you try and lie and say you got in on a football scholarship or something.
Wonderful. Yeah.
If I wasn't already playing a barbarian.
My God, that'd be such a fun but difficult character if you were like a non-magical character pretending to be a wizard. That'd be hilarious. Anyway, okay, so we've discussed quite a bit of stuff. So like everybody's a little bit selfish once in a while, I think. Like, it's human nature.
Yeah.
How can you like monitor yourself at the table to make sure your pursuit of fun is not impeding other people's pursuit of fun?
I mean,
people do get caught up.
Yeah, that's true. I think it just requires a base level of self-awareness of knowing when you are towing the line. You know, like you know, just use like this past session as an example. What I was doing with Quinn for like a good chunk of the opening was basically get Oriana in position for where that character can do what that character needs to do, shove her into the position as much as possible, and then get the fuck out of the way as quick as I can, and like immediately jump in the back seat. Because what I was figuring is it is essentially for that particular part of the plot, everybody else's job to just push her up at the front where she needs to be at the moment, and then get out of the way, and then get back in when it's time. You know, and that's what you basically need to be able to do is you need to recognize when is it your turn and when is it someone else's turn? When is it time for that other character to get into the spotlight and have their moment and get their bits of the narrative forward? And, you know, like, it's like basically it's like the gambler, no one to hold them, no one to fold them, and no one to walk away and when to run.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is a matter of know when it's not about you. Like Perry, for example, same as Quinn. Like, this was Oriana's story. This was Oriana's moment in the sun. So, like, I was very aware, like, Perry's going to be supportive, but she's going to be in the background. So, like, know when to just step back and not insert yourself. If your character would say a line and then get the fuck out, then do that. Know when you don't have to be involved. And know when to enjoy the show.
As we're also watching the show.
In terms of like the long health or the long game, the health of the campaign, just make sure you're keeping open lines of communications with the other players and the DM as well. If it starts becoming a problem, the sooner somebody can kind of let you know and start to fix that problem, the more you can enjoy that kind of game with your friends. But if, you know, you're refusing to talk to your other friends, if you're refusing to, you know, kind of check in and make sure that the style you're playing, which is sort of high risk, high reward in terms of RP, is negative. If you're not checking in with your friends and it negatively impacts them, then you're gonna cause a rift in your group, in your party, in your campaign. And that's, you know, unfortunately, one of the ways campaigns just end. Groups just stop wanting to play together because of something going wrong.
Yeah.
Tragic. So as like a DM, if there's a person at your table who's self-absorbed, what can you do to like guide them back into a position where they can play with the other people? Or like, is it your responsibility to do that, or what do you think?
I mean, if it's your game, you do bear a good portion of the responsibility to make sure the other people are, you know, basically playing nice. Because DM does kind of make you into table mom a little bit sometimes, you know, like I will turn this game around right now if you can't get along. So like,
be nice or we're not going to get to see the dragon.
I will drop a Tarrasque on this thing so fast. But yeah, it does sort of turn it into, if you see that there is some sort of problem, or if the other players are saying, hey, this is a problem, then you need to see what you can do, either narratively to try and get a character back on the rails, or just with, you know, side conversations outside of the game with the player in question. They're like, okay, look, I need to know what you're trying to do here, because here's what you are doing, and here is the impact it is having on not just the rest of the game, but also the rest of the humans at the table. So how can we get whatever it is you're trying to get in a way that will not alienate the rest of the party and the rest of the players and make sure that we can move things back towards actual functional play. And then there also does come the very unfortunate cases where you try that and then nothing fixes it. And then you just have to make the call of, look, we tried talking about this. We tried doing whatever we could to fix it. We, bent the campaign over backwards to try and make it work. It is not going to work. This is it for you. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, that's about where, just where you got to step in is like one or the other, basically.
Yeah.
Is everyone's thoughts?
That's roughly sums up my thoughts about it too.
Yeah, mine too.
Cool beans. Okay, it's good actually because we're just about at our time for the night. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on this topic before we say goodnight?
I mean, the only thing that I would say is with what a lot of Jake was saying about how to play the selfish character and how, with how you have to balance, it's very interesting because Oriana has had a lot of very selfish and self-interest and self-absorbed traits that he has been having to juggle with, trying to balance it in ways that make the party not hate her for it. And so far has been mostly successful. Annoyed with, largely in some cases, yes, very much. But, people get annoyed with shit. It's whatever. But as far as not wanting to have anything to do with said character anymore, or with wanting to tie her to an anchor and throw her off the nearest pier, that has not come up yet. I said yet because I don't know what else is going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think Oriana is a good example, the way that Jake plays her, and major props to you for this, because it is hard to balance. Oriana can be very self-interested, but Jake finds a good way of showing, and I really like this, ways that her self-interest is in the interest of the party. And that's how you keep things together without destroying everything.
Yeah.
She also very obviously cares about the party.
Yes, that as well. That's one of the things that makes it work, is because yes, she is selfish. Yes, she is self-interested in a lot of ways about a lot of things, but there is a base level of caring about the others around her that makes it so you can kind of see what she's doing and why, if she's trying to couch it in wanting to, make things work better, or make the situations go better for the rest of the party. And also, I will say this, props to the DM about having her selfishness come back and bite her in the ass in so many delightful ways so far. Well done, ma'am. Well done.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is that you do as a DM is if you have somebody who's playing a selfish character, make sure that that doesn't always benefit them.
Yes, make sure the universe occasionally likes to just slap that person around a little bit, like, no.
Yeah, Oriana is really fun to play because of that reason, because she's a selfless person. She wants to help people, but she knows in order to help people, she needs to be strong and have access to powerful items and things like that. So her selfishness comes out of a desire to be selfless and help people.
Yeah, it's an interesting character trait. Also, real quick before we end, what Chad said made me realize something. I think the secret to playing a character with negative traits is just to be friends with the party, because once your party has that bond of friendship, negative traits become lovable.
This is true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like with real friends.
It's with real friends. Yeah. We've called D&D friendship simulator before.
Yes, and it really is.
Yeah, that's very true. Cool beans. And with that, we are going to end. We went exactly 4 minutes late, but that's fine. Thank you guys for being on the show. It's a great episode. Thank you to everyone who's watching, to everyone who tunes in on Tuesday, week after week, everyone who tunes on Friday, week after week, to see all of the zany shenanigans, and then us talking about the zany shenanigans forever and ever. It's great. Keep tuning in. Thank you to our patrons. You can check out our Patreon. It is linked on our Twitch page, and we have cool little prizes and stuff every month. Lots of behind the scenes stuff you can't get anywhere else. You have to pay exactly $1 per month for it. Please pay us. Check out our store. We've got also merch that you can buy, which is not a monthly payment, it's just once. Check out our YouTube. We've got all of our old episodes up there. Check out our Twitch. We've got some of our old episodes and clips and stuff up there. Check out our podcast. I always forget to shout that out, but it's quite popular, I think, in Australia.
In a few places.
In a few places, it's we're doing numbers in countries.
Yeah.
There are numbers and there are countries.
There sure are.
Thank you to Sunburn and Lady Meows who did our music and our title card. And I hope you all have an amazing night. Good night.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Night.